name is Jake Brancatella. And over my days of traveling to and from Oklahoma, I listened to many, many hours of Jake's videos. I listened to all of the Testing the Trinity series and some debates and some other topics. I started looking around. I said, I wonder if there's, because he had mentioned in some context that he was a former Roman Catholic. I mean, Brancatella is not exactly Mohammed Hajib or something like that. I mean, it's, and let's put it this way. Listening to Jake is not like listening to anybody who asked me questions. Literally in almost any of my Muslim debates. The closest experience I've had was my debate with Abdullah Kunda, where Abdullah had read my book and attempted to present an argument that would communicate to Christians. But he obviously, in his studies, has read all sorts of sources. I was calling Rich up while we were driving. I was saying, I have a feeling this book from Oxford is probably going to be ridiculously expensive. Look it up for me, because I'm driving, you know. So anyway. And they were expensive, especially the Oxford stuff. But he's reading a lot of people from a wide variety. One of the things. Oh, I didn't tell you this. Guess who he knows, and in fact used to work with? Hamza Abdul Malik. So the first guy I debated, they know each other and worked together for a while, and have since parted ways. But I was like, oh, really? That's fascinating. Didn't expect that connection to exist. But anyway, so listening to these conversations, Jake knows so much more about the Trinity than Muslims in general. There's almost in my experience, there is an unwillingness on the part of Muslims to read books on Christian theology. And so I think that's reflective of an attitude that I've seen on the part of many Muslims. They don't want to learn Christian theology. They just don't think it's worthwhile. And as a result, very often the argumentation and the objections are really against straw men. They're not overly in-depth arguments and things like that. Jake's obviously not going that direction and is reading widely, but reading widely in materials primarily on the Trinity and the Incarnation, issues of Christology. So he may be the first Muslim I've ever met that could tell you the difference between Apollinarianism, Nestorianism, and Eutychianism. The vast majority of evangelical Christians, and like I said, I don't think I've ever met a Muslim that off the top of their head could tell you what the differences between those perspectives are, and the vast majority of evangelical Protestants can't either. Certainly the vast majority of Roman Catholics can't either. So that's refreshing. It results in the conversation being very, very different, and I think he realizes that he does dawah very, 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 very differently than the vast majority of Muslims, that the perspectives he's bringing up are very, very different. But I've listened to hours and hours and hours of Jake talking about problems of the Trinity, problems of the Incarnation, debates, evidently. And I am thankful, I am glad, honestly, to see. What have I said in my closing statements and debates with Muslims since, I think I may have even said it at Biola, so 2006, but at least from 2008 onwards. What have I said? We need to move the discussion forward. Repeating the tired arguments. Well, where did Jesus say, I am God, worship me? Ahmed Deedat is dated. He's been refuted. And it's frustrating when people keep repeating stuff. So I debate people who use Ahmed Deedat's arguments because I want to reach the people that's all they've got. But there needs to be somebody on the other side that says, yeah, let's get past that kind of stuff and get to something that's a little bit more meaningful. And Jake's trying to do that. Well, I hope that this will start in a useful conversation as both Muslims and Christians follow along and consider this. I'm hopeful that it will be on a different level than a lot of the conversations that have been had in the past. Jake is not on the Ahmed Deedat level, and that's a compliment from me. The Ahmed Deedat level is not, I've said for a long time, is not a scholarly level on anyone's radar, I think. And let's put it this way: listening to Jake is not like listening to anybody who asked me questions. Literally in almost any of my Muslim debates,